Cleveland has a number of remarkable attributes, but one that's always stood out to me is the now century-old Detroit Superior Bridge, also known as the Veterans Memorial Bridge since the 1980s. Below the busy street level filled with traffic and joggers and flags, there's a lower level directly underneath that used to contain a very active subway line until January of 1954. Built from 1914 to 1918, the Veterans Memorial Bridge was the largest double-deck concrete reinforced bridge in the world. Boasting a beautiful view over the Cuyahoga River, the bridge gave Cleveland a modern sheen that it reveled in. The lower level had 4 streetcar tracks and 6 stations attached to it. Here's Joe Simperman, president of Global Cleveland. They're an organization that helps international newcomers to Cleveland find employment opportunities.
You know, my dad was born here in Cleveland in 1914. His father actually worked on the bridge. It was a bridge that we used to travel on all the time, and my dad would tell me the stories. He remembers taking the underground trolley that would take you from the east side of the bridge to the west side of the bridge.
After some successful campaigns by General Motors and other automobile companies to discredit streetcars and trolleys and instead replace them with buses and automobiles, Cleveland shut down the subway line. Several years later, the public was blocked off from visiting the lower level altogether. As the years went by, the upper deck was consistently rehabilitated and revamped, while the lower deck slowly fell into disrepair. Homeless people took over the space until the city sealed off the old entrances for good. Outside of some occasional events and now non-existent tours, the lower level remains abandoned. Here's Terry Schwartz, director of the Cleveland Urban Design Collaborative, an outreach division for the College of Architecture at Kent State. Her and a group of Kent State students proposed an incredibly detailed plan to revamp the bridge as a pedestrian space. While their end goal has not been achieved, they did succeed in opening the bridge to the public several times.
People are really curious about the space, and once they set foot on it, they can see the vision of why, kind of this wonderful area, this beautiful space should be open to the public. The city has been really supportive of our work, although there isn't at the moment any funding committed to it.
It's hard to make a documentary about an abandoned subway without having any footage of it. So I contacted the Cuyahoga County Engineer's Office who, after some back and forth, decided to give me special access to film the lower level of the bridge one gray morning. A man named Lenny let me in through one of the few remaining entrances. Well, he did after some time figuring out the locks.
What does the key that actually gets me in? The key that you get out, forget about it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't like being underneath here. So I definitely don't like walking over the water, and it's just an eerie feeling to me. I don't like it. So you can do what you got to do, and then just come back and let me know, and I'll close things up. That's all.
Okay.
All right.
I'm allowed to just head off that way.
Yeah, you can go anywhere. You can do whatever you want.
I hadn't expected this to be a self-guided tour. Here I was, alone on the abandoned bridge, with nothing but my camera and an enormous flashlight. My primary company was the sound of cars streaming both above and below me.
It's a really interesting bridge because it's got a pretty steep rise, right? It doesn't necessarily feel like it, but you get pretty high pretty quickly, and it gives you a perspective of being able to look not only at the lake but also at our downtown skyline.
The central span is really the biggest issue. The deck is a metal grate in that area, but in order to make that space truly accessible to bikes and pedestrians, probably a new surface would have to be poured there.
The cars don't bother me. It's looking down through some of the expansion joints and seeing that the river's underneath you, and there's nothing, if it lets go, there's nothing there. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
As I approached the east end of the bridge, I started to see more remnants as the trolley line headed underground. Here is the replica of one of the old trolleys used for tours. Here's a pedestrian exit that once was. Most of this end of the bridge was closed off entirely and submerged underwater. For years, the once functional sewers would have prevented all of this, but now the sewers are so blocked that leaked water lines have created a brick pond. I headed back to the west side of the bridge for the more extended subway paths. It's definitely a lot quieter on this side of things. On the other side, you could hear a lot of the rain and a lot of the traffic above, but this section, it's almost eerily silent. I see the other trolley, or half of a trolley. I mean, it is deadly silent now. I hear nothing. I reached another end. Looks like there's still one last passageway. Subterranean Masters. So the walls are now black, and it looks like this is silly string. It's very mucky. Well, I've reached another end. There's some water running down this wall, and it's making this interesting burbly noise. I'm on my way back, and I notice there's still these rooms. This room goes nowhere. Break the law for fun. Pizza. Aha. The restrooms. And what used to be the toilets. I really need to actually go to the restroom right now. Some kind of machinery here. I see the light again. Huzzah. There's a whole model train set just sitting here. Daylight, sweet daylight. Woo. It's kind of a shame that more people won't get to do this. I mean, I probably breathed in about a desert's worth of dust and grit, but other than that, it's pretty cool.
Ultimately, what I hope happens is that there's an effort to restore underneath the bridge, because I think that could be an incredible park. You know, you've got the High Line in New York City, you could have the Low Line here in Cleveland, but I think it's going to require a lot of work, because in order to make that safe and beautiful, you're going to have to do a lot to make sure that it's secure.
You know what it would take. It's just a question of how much change you want to make. You don't want to undermine the character of the bridge as it is today, and also how the bridge would ultimately be used. But with all the investment, new housing and businesses that are located in that part of Ohio City that we call Hingetown now, and with all the people who are rediscovering Public Square, the bridge is the thing that connects those two dots. So it just feels like it's only a matter of time until this kind of very logical connection gets made. It's already there, I guess, is one of the points that's important to make, and it'll wait for us.
The Detroit Superior Bridge will wait for us. But how long will Cleveland wait on the bridge? Thanks for watching.